Welcome back, founders, to another episode of Founderama. All right, this week we've been talking about quite personal things, right? Typically, on these episodes, I talk about founders from a technical perspective, right? Startups, funding, scaling, exits, pitch decks, um, traction and financial forecasts and things like that. But this week, I've taken on topics that are subtext, these subtle things that actually contribute to 60% of the success of a startup and a founder, right? These are the meta details that actually move the needle. In fact, my experience, 25, 28 years of being in business, of which over 20 years I've been a mentor, um, being also an angel investor, and I work with hundreds and hundreds of founders. What I've really learned is that the power of a startup, the success of a startup, really depends on the founder, of course, on the team's kind of mental state, the mindset, right? And yeah, you might be saying, Mash, we already know this, so get on with the show. I will. I'm also waiting for people to jump on because I am getting DMs on LinkedIn that when I start an episode, I jump straight into the narrative. And by the time people log on, I'm already into the second, third slide and they're missing the continuity. So I think everybody's on board. It's been enough time. So today's topic is a continuation. And today we're talking about how to navigate founder loneliness. Okay, so on Monday, we spoke about fear and the fear of failure. Yesterday, we were talking about the imposter syndrome. And today, we're talking about yet another kind of mind space of founders, which is founder loneliness. Yes, there is such thing as a founder loneliness, and it's the sense of isolation and emotional burden many entrepreneurs face when building their startups, often due to high levels of stress, responsibility, and personal sacrifice. And even founders who have co-founders and partners, it's still a solo battle. Believe me, it's a solo battle, and I'm sure you agree with that. Um, Families, yeah, they do understand, what you're trying to do and the hard work that you're putting in, but they don't really understand that mental space where you are, right? It's like I don't know if you've watched this film called Contact. It's an old film. It's a sci-fi film, and there is this huge dome, and in the middle of the dome is a seat, a chair, so to speak, and you sit in that, and they sort of launch this dome into a wormhole, and it's something like that, right? So you are alone, you have a huge dome around you, and of course everybody else is outside that dome, and loved ones, family, friends, yes, they're looking in and they're waving, they're trying to support you, but they're not in the dome with you. And when the dome is dropped into the wormhole, so in this film the wormhole is, it's like in an ocean, right? So I don't know, Pacific Ocean or Atlantic, I don't know what it is. So this rig is right in the middle of the ocean. It's holding this dome, and you're this tiny spot in the dome, and then they let go and it drops into the ocean, but actually there's a wormhole there. And then I think it's Jodie Foster, if I'm not mistaken. And then the dome is traveling through the wormhole, and universes pass and bizarre things happen. That is a startup journey, isn't it? Okay. um, so we'll discuss the impact of founder loneliness on your well-being and success, and also share practical tips for building connections and combating isolation. Okay, let's look at the roots of founder loneliness, right? The pressure to succeed. The high stakes and responsibility of leading a startup can contribute to feelings of isolation and loneliness. Because look, us coming up with the idea for a startup, putting it all together, launching the startup, getting funded, taking you to the next level, scaling the startup, and maybe exiting in the future. All these things require a single minded kind of focus. It requires a leap of faith. It requires this fortitude of the spirit to persevere where, obstacles and challenges are a daily kind of occurrence, right? You're putting out fires all the time. You're beating down walls all the time. You're battling tigers. You're battling bears, right? And you're doing it all this while you're blindfolded and maybe even one arm tied behind your back, maybe with a wooden peg. Okay, you get the idea, right? So, with all this, the pressure to succeed isolates you because, yes, your family, your friends, they share that your vision and your dream of success, but the pressure is not on them; it's on you. So, when you have that pressure, you feel lonely. Lack of support. Founders may struggle to find people who understand the unique challenges they face. Now, don't get me wrong. When I say lack of support, I'm not saying that your loved ones, your family, your spouse, your friends, that they don't want you to support to succeed or they don't want to support you. They just don't know how, right? They do it in the best way they know how, which is not enough for a founder going through a startup challenge, right? So it's not to blame anyone. This is the way it is, right? Like the Mandalorian, they say, this is the way. Um, and the way is this, and we need to sort of, handle the way ourselves. Sacrifices. The long hours, financial uncertainty, and personal sacrifices can take a toll on founders' relationships and social lives, right? So that leads to further isolation. And trust me, when I say this, that a lot of founders face a lot of issues at home, right? In their relationships, love relationships, or their kids, or, whatever, and even social. A lot of the times, when you're really bootstrapping, when you're really trying to put this together, you tend to be antisocial. And some friends understand that, some don't. So, yes, sacrifices. These are the roots of loneliness. So when you're making these sacrifices and the others don't understand the sacrifices you're making and perhaps sometimes even judge you, you suddenly feel lonely. So what am I trying to say? Founders are lonely, right? You know that, and I know that. And I know that really well. I've been a founder multiple times throughout my life. And I've had successful ventures. I've had disasters, and I've had a few in between. And every single time when I launch a startup, I go through the same process and I hit the highs and the lows and I face the loneliness. But of course, over the years, I've developed some strategies, some coping mechanisms, and some really good ideas to actually turn the momentum. And just like Taekwondo, right? That's what you do. Or even in judo, or jiu-jitsu or whatever, you use the opponent's strengths, and force against them. Just like that, I've learned a few things. Okay, let's dig deep into what those things are. But before that, let's look at the consequences of loneliness, right? Mental health. Chronic loneliness can lead to anxiety, depression, and burnout, making it harder to maintain focus and productivity. Now, this is very important. This is very important. Right? A lot of people might be saying, "Oh, yeah, you know what? I'm okay with loneliness. I don't care. I'm a lone wolf, right? I'm a lone survivor. Yeah, okay, you're good. But you don't even realize this, but anxiety, depression, and burnout, these are signs that, not just signs, but also consequences of loneliness. What happens when those things kick in? You lose focus and productivity. So a lot of the times, the startup is not really going as you want it to go. And you might be thinking, oh, you're blaming the world. The investors, they're sitting on our back. They're not letting us do our thing. Or, the economy suddenly died. And therefore, yes, all those things exist. They do happen. But if you're not in the right state of mind, if you're not able to focus, if you're not highly productive, if you're not your best self, then Yes, there are challenges, but how you face those challenges, how you react to those challenges, what kind of ideas you come up with, those are affected because of this. And these are the symptoms are anxiety, depression, and burnout, right? But the fundamental root cause could be loneliness. Decision making. Isolation can negatively impact decision making as founders may lack the diverse perspectives and feedback needed for well rounded decisions. So, what happens is as you move forward, most of the time, unless you have a partner, a business partner, a co founder, most of the decisions you make are your own, right? You may consult with your family, but then you're probably just using them as a sounding board, right? You may talk to your spouse and say, you know what? I've been bootstrapping so long. And I've been trying to get some funding. I'm not getting funding. Maybe I need to go for some debt equity. What do you think? And your spouse may then be supportive, and their understanding of debt may be different from what debt equity is or the consequences of that. So they might say, yeah, that's a good idea. If you're not getting funding, just go, yeah, take it. Why don't we remortgage, or why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Which is good. But at the end of the day, you know exactly what needs to be done, and the pros and cons of taking on debt, and it could lead to disaster. You could lose your home. Yes, there's lots of things. So because of that, your isolation can have this negative impact on decision making, right? That's a pretty important thing. Personal relationships. So this leads to the strain of loneliness can affect founders' personal relationships, further exacerbating feelings of isolation. So as you become isolated, you will in fact tend to distance yourself from your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your family members, best friends, and that it's a perpetual cycle. So the consequences of loneliness are detrimental to your startup. I would say it's one of the biggest factors, and I've seen it. In fact, I've been privy to so many kind of breakups and relationships failures and even divorces of founders when they're after they're bootstrapped and then they got their pre-seed or seed funding. Yeah, I've seen this happen a lot. Okay, so what are the strategies for building connections and combating isolation, right? First thing I always say is seek out a support network, right? So join founder communities. So participate in networking events, online forums, and local meetups to connect with other entrepreneurs who understand your challenges. And so, okay, the thing with these networks is a lot of the time founders join these networks hoping to get business out of it, right? So they're either hoping to find people who may invest in them or maybe co-founders, which is okay. Okay, if you do it for that reason, that's okay. But also, please, please, please try to do this to find friends, peers who can become friends, founders, other founders who are doing their own thing. And, they're not going to buy from you. You're not going to buy from them. They're not going to invest in you. You're not going to invest in them. Nothing, just friendship. Why? Because then you can sort of exchange. You can talk to someone. Oh man, yeah, you know what? I'm feeling the same. I thought it was burnout because I'm working long hours, but it's not because of that. It's because I'm just sitting there day in and day out thinking through these problems, and I don't know who to talk to. And then the other person might say the same thing. I felt the same. What are you feeling? What about this? How did you deal with this? What was your reaction when you were turned down for the 10th time for funding? When your investors treated you badly, how did you feel? And then, do you see where I'm going with this? So yeah, join founder communities. Of course, be careful with what kind of founder communities you join. You don't want to join founder communities that are not curated, right? Because there are certain communities where they're free for all, right? There is no criteria. You just pay that monthly fee, you get in. And what then happens is you will have a lot of players within the community that are trying to get something monetary from the others. So they're there to sell their services. They could be, I don't know, offering copywriting or whatever, right? I got nothing against copywriters. I'm just giving an example. And so you want to join communities that are curated, that have a specific kind of focus, that have rules, that have consequences, and so on and so forth. All right. Find a mentor or coach. Yes, I always say this. I have had mentors all my life. When I was starting out in business, when one of my businesses um, crashed and burned and it was total disaster, I had a mentor. Even now, I have a mentor. I'm a mentor myself. I mentor, I coach, but I also have a mentor. Everybody needs a mentor or a coach. Because look, mentors and coaches are Sherpas, right? And you are on a quest to the Mount Everest. You want to scale the summit, you want to reach the summit. And to do that, you need a Sherpa. You need someone who has been there, done that, who has lived there, and who acclimatizes to that environment. They know the ins and outs. One simple wind change direction, they know something as big is coming, and they can help you prepare. They put their foot in the ground, and the firmness of the snow. They know exactly what's going to happen in the evening. So you need Sherpas, man. You need Sherpas on your journey. You need mentors and coaches. They give you advice, they give you support, or they help you think through the problem, right? Just like therapists. Build a strong team. Surround yourself with a diverse, supporting team that shares your vision and values. So, again, this is all a support network. Actually, I think was it last week or the week before that? I did an episode on building a support network and what a support network is, right? Go check it out. Okay, prioritize work life balance, right? So set boundaries, establish clear boundaries between your work and personal life to prevent burnout and maintain healthy relationships. Because if you don't set priorities, you alienate your support group, the core support network. And this could be your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend, your family members, your best friends. So for that, you need to set boundaries. And even if you feel like you gotta be there 12, 14, 16 hours a day, and if you don't do it, your dream is gonna crash and burn, I can guarantee you, I've been there, done that, I've seen it all. I've worked 18-hour days, 20-hour days. I've lost all my hair. And I've overcome a lot of those challenges. And I can tell you, hand on heart, that nothing is more important than your relationships, your family, and your sanity, right? These three things, your relationships, your family comes under relationship, but it's a subset, it's a separate thing. In my book, it's more holy than other kinds of relationships, right? So your relationships, so this could be your friends and your support network, and then your family, your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, your children especially, and then of course, you okay. The reason I say that is because these relationships, they will help you heal when you're going through this process. So if you ignore those, then you will have isolation. Schedule downtime. Okay, make time for hobbies, exercise, and relaxation to recharge your mind and body. Hobbies, this could be photography, this could be hiking, this could be cycling. I don't know, this could be hunting, whatever, right? Have a hobby, find a hobby, and preferably something that will take you away from your laptop or your phone, kayaking, whatever, mountaineering. Of course, you need to exercise and you need to go walking, jogging, or the gym is a good place. But again, not just to build out and build a bodybuilding and all that. Which is, if you have that, that's fine. That's fine. But any kind of exercise, right? Relaxation, travel, go travel the world. Set aside, like personally, before a couple of years, some 2, 3, 4 years back, I would travel. Actually, 4, 5 years back, travel was something that surrounded my business and my, all this, right? But since then, for the last 4 or 5 years, travel with my wife is at the core of my life, and business is around it. I do business just to facilitate that, right? So I make it a point to go on 2 to 3 week long trips, at least 3 times a year, or 4 if possible. So 2 to 3 weeks is almost a month, because a few days before, a few days after you come back from the trip. So it's a month, 3 months, at least 3 months. So every quarter, at least 1 month. And then there's the fourth quarter, and then the fourth month if possible. Not easy, but I worked really hard to put this into place. So you need to take baby steps. Take baby steps, but do it. Do it. Start with, especially road trips. These are the best, right? Because if you can go for a weekend as a road trip, come back, and then do a week, and then 2 weeks, and so on, right? International travel, fantastic for you. I always recharge on my travel. That's when I get the best ideas. I come back and I kill it. If I don't travel, and so after I come back from the travel, I'm energized, of course. It goes on a month in, the second month, I can already start feeling that, I'm not as sharp as I can be, start getting a little blunt. And then by the third month, yeah. So that's why I've timed it like that. Of course, it's not always possible. It's not always possible for everyone. It takes a lot of money. And you got to pay the bills. If you're a solopreneur, then if you take off for a month, you're going to lose customers, right? You're not going to get any new sales, which means your cash flow is going to be affected. And then when you come back, you're going to work double, triple. Yes, I know. You know what? That's a topic for another day. Let's do a video on that. Let me break down how I do it, and then we can discuss that. Okay. Cultivate relationships. So, investing in your existing relationships and make an effort to build new connections outside of work. Outside of work, outside of your family, you need to have friends. That's why going back to joining, founder networks, that's an important thing, because yes, it may seem like work again because they're founders, you're founders. So I'm not advocating going completely outside of work in the traditional sense. That could be it. That's why you need to have hobbies, right? So hobbies will help you get out. So if you're photography, maybe you join the Leica group, and that way you meet people that are out completely outside, all that. Okay, develop healthy coping strategies. Practice mindfulness, right? Mindfulness techniques, meditation, journaling. These are very important. I do meditation. I've been doing meditation for over 15 years now. I started slow, but today, if I need to, I can sit down for an hour, just like that. An hour passes and I'm in a meditative state. My theta waves sort of kick in. My mind is, fine-tuned. And I come out. You lose the sense of time. And that's the most important. And meditation is for you to detach from time. There's nothing more than that. People think meditation is about trying to remove, thoughts from your mind. No, that's not what meditation is for. Meditation is for you to sort of forget that the construct of time as you know it exists, because it's just a construct, right? Time doesn't really exist in the way we think about it. So yeah, that will help you manage anxiety and strategy and stress. Of course, self-care, right? So exercising regularly, going to sleep. Sleep, it's my nemesis. Sleep is my nemesis. And I've always struggled. I still struggle with sleep. Not getting to sleep. I mean, I'm lucky to say that if I do decide to sleep and then I lie down, within 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops, I'm already sleeping. And so it's not insomnia. It's the fact that I don't want to sleep, right? So my brain is so active, and I'm sure you can relate to this. I'm either watching something, reading something, listening to a podcast, and I don't want to sleep. It's only 11. It's only 11:30. I'm thinking, because I don't want the day to end. I want to be as productive as possible. Now, I'm sure a lot of you can relate with that, but that's bad. You need sleep. And then, of course, if the feelings of loneliness and isolation become overwhelming, then you do need to seek professional help, right? Get it. Trust me. And there's no judgment in that. There's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be scared of. Just get it if you have to, because if you don't, the cost you're going to pay, it's going to be terrible. But whatever amount you spent on a good therapist, right? Good professional will pay itself back. Trust me. Okay. Yeah, we've gone through this. And so, yeah, that is it for today. And I hope you found this useful. I'm telling you, if you're feeling lonely, even if if you don't realize that you're feeling lonely, trust me, reflect on it. Loneliness is a killer for a startup. For a founder, it's an enemy, right? Not sleep. Loneliness. Listen, if you want to share your story with me, just ping me, DM me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Or if you have questions on this, you're going through something similar and you want to talk about it, ping me. And by the way, when the doors open for my Founderama network community, these are the things we can discuss. We're going to have office hours where we can, just have an open Zoom call. Everybody jumps in and we will discuss ideas and just share, just share. So keep your eyes out for Founderama that's going to launch next month, and then we'll see there, right? Okay, in the meanwhile, I'll get back to you tomorrow with another episode, and go forth and prosper.